Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, before anything happens, let me explain the title. I know what it looks like. I swear it's not what it seems. But before anything, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Because if you don't, then you might be missing out on crazy stories just like this one. Also, if you want to hear these stories live, I am live on Kick streaming and telling these crazy stories live to you guys with Facecam. So you already know it's more embarrassing than what it already seems. But other than that, let's get straight into this insane, crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story is honestly something that you guys are not going to like, because this story takes place in my grade 12 year, and let's just say in grade 12, anything can happen. And by anything, I mean literally anything, because it's your last year of high school, and you want to make memories happen. And me, well, now that I realize that how much content I put on this channel, almost every part of my life is a memory. But I remember one thing that happened to me that was honestly the most scariest thing on the planet. To be honest, I thought I was gonna get arrested for this, for how bad it was. And I just realized that the title of this video makes me look like a really bad guy, so just listen in. I remember in grade 12, I was walking around the school, finishing up my finals and getting things done. And then I remember there was a random girl that walked up to me. She was actually really popular throughout the school, that said to me, "Hey Bubba, there's gonna be like a giant party happening at Justin's place. Do you want to like go?" Yeah, I was planning on going. Anyways, I obviously was lying. I wasn't invited to it yet, but now that I technically was invited, I was gonna go. But I didn't want to go with this chick specifically because I wasn't really actually, well, attracted to her after we did the Devil's Tango a long time back throughout our high school years. So I remember I told her, "Oh yeah, but like I'm going with someone else to that party, but thanks for inviting me though." She looked at me all kind of sad and then walked away. So then I remember right afterwards, I ended up going on my phone and I ended up texting this one girl that I was actually generally seeing. Now this girl that I was seeing was honestly amazing. She was great, she was fantastic, and to be honest, she was beautiful. She had blonde hair and blue eyes, and honestly, like, holy, she was my type. And I remember I went on my phone and I texted her saying, "Hey, I'm going to this party tonight. Do you want to come with me? It's like all like the grade 12s are going." "Oh, yeah, sure. But to be honest, I'll have to see because I might have to take care of my sister that day." "Your sister?" is what I said. And then that's when I remembered her sister. Now, this girl that I was seeing had a really young sister. She was, I think, 11 when I first met her, but now I think she was 12. And to be honest, she was not like most other girls. For some reason, one thing I realized was that girls mature way faster than guys do. And guys, I know you guys don't want to believe that, but it's true. Girls mature 10 times faster than you do, and that's why most girls' humor is really down the drain. But that's not the point. The main thing is, I remember basically one thing as a joke that was between me and this girl that I was seeing at the time was that her sister had a massive crush on me. Now, I was in grade 12 and obviously I really did not like her at all in any way because she was 12 years old. And around this time, I was 17 turning 18. So in my mind, you know, I would always just be like, "Your sister has a crush on me. That's so weird." Even though realistically, yeah, it was super weird. So that's just some backstory on that. When she told me that she needed to take care of her sister, I told her, "Oh, well, like, just try to see if you can, like, you know, come over to my place after and then just, you know, just dip on your sister." Because obviously, I'd rather her be at the party with me than hang out with her sister and babysit. She ended up saying she'll try, and then came the day of the party. Now, this thing went insane. I remember the day of the party, it was a Friday night, and honestly, I was really excited to go to Justin's house for this awesome party. I got my clothes ready, I got my Air Forces on, and I was ready to go and just chill and just see the vibes of being a grade 12 and get ready to relax after having such a hard time doing finals. I remember I started heading to my car that I had, the blue Toyota Celica that I love to this day. And then I remember when I decided to call up the girl that I was gonna bring, she didn't answer the phone. So what I decided to do was that I decided to basically drive to her house because I wasn't sure if she didn't want to go or it was actually a missed call and she wasn't answering my texts. I didn't know what to do. So I drove over to her house and I just waited outside and I called her once more and she picked up. She picked up saying, "Oh, hey, I don't know if I can make it to the party, but honestly, like I'm putting my sister to bed now. So hopefully I can maybe just come and make it." Okay, sure, is what I said. And I remember I asked her, "So do you want me to drive you there or like, cause I'm outside your house right now?" "Oh no, it's okay. I'll like drive there myself after. Just go head there right now," is what she told me. And at that point, I'm like, okay, that's not a problem. I remember I drove over to the party and when I got there, I saw a lot of my friends there and I was hanging out. But to be honest, I was really just hoping that, you know, the girl I was seeing at the time was gonna be there eventually. I I kept waiting on my phone. I kept looking at it, glancing at it to see if she'll even, tell me if she was on the way. But then I want to say halfway through the party, I remember I decided to start drinking. And by the way, drinking age down here in Canada is 19. So don't underage drink, kids. It's never a good idea. And I remember out of nowhere, I saw someone at the party. And I remember I walked up to this girl thinking that it was, the girl I was seeing. So I walked up to her and I said, hey, like, when'd you get here? Kind of like all confused and dizzy. And when she turned around, this girl, I realized it was her 12-year-old sister at the party. I looked at her and said, wait, what are you doing here? She turns around and says, oh, hi, Bubba. I was just coming to see the party. I wanted to see you. Where's your sister is what I said. And she said, oh, like my sister, she's somewhere around here. I don't know. She said she wanted to look for you. Does your sister know you're here? Is what I told her. Oh, no, I snuck into her car when she thought I was sleeping. Are you kidding me? Is what I said. So I remember I start freaking out and I start spam calling her sister. I spam called the girl that I was seeing because obviously her sister was here and she didn't know about it. But as I was spam calling her, she never answered, and I kind of get it. The party was loud. So I remember I decided to basically grab this 12-year-old girl and take her outside and said, wait here, don't go into the party. Because obviously no 12-year-old should be at a party like this. I started looking around. I started trying to figure out where was this girl, because obviously, like, come on. But as I was looking around and going through the kitchen, the upstairs, downstairs, I realized the last place I didn't check was the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, I knock the door. A guy says, occupied. I remember I ended up saying, oh, my bad, sorry. And then that's when I heard a girl. A girl said, wait, that's Bubba. And when I heard that voice, I knew instantly who it was. Yeah, it was the girl that I was seeing. Apparently she was in there with a guy. And yeah, I was kind of just, at that point, kind of just heartbroken, because when he opened the door, I saw that they were putting their clothes back on as if they just did the Devil's Tango. Like, kind of crazy how she would ignore me and then do that, I guess. I don't know. It just sucked. That's all I'm saying, guys. It really sucked. So I remember afterwards, I ended up basically just walking outside and sitting on the steps, and I saw the girl that I was seeing, sister, walk up to me. She walked up to me and said, did you find my sister? Yeah, I did. She's busy. But I think I'm just gonna take you home, okay? She ends up smiling and she starts running to my car, kind of skipping to it, funny enough. And she sat in my car and I ended up driving her back home. When I got to her place, I ended up saying, hey, if your sister asks where I went, just tell her I don't want to see her anymore. She ended up looking all sad saying, wait, why? I don't know. Your sister's kind of a hoe. And I ended up closing the door for her and I ended up basically leaving. That was the last time I ever saw her. But honestly, I'm kind of happy I never saw her again. Because, like, you gotta understand one thing, guys. And is that when you're talking to a girl and she's talking to 100 other guys, the chances of you being the one that she stays with is 0 to none. Never keep your hopes up high for that. Okay, I don't understand why people lie about things. Like, don't get me wrong. I can see why guys lie about their height, knowing that not every guy's 6 foot. But at the same time, though, like, lying about your age is one of the most scariest things ever. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this story has a lot of it. And I just want to say that this story hopefully won't get me arrested, because let's just say it was all figured out. But all I'm gonna say is make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe, and let's get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So this story takes place back when I was in high school. I remember it was my senior year. I was in grade 12, and I was basically going on to becoming a full-on adult. It's kind of weird turning into an adult, because you have to go through like main cycles of things, getting ready for your future. And well, I don't know, me becoming a YouTuber was never really planned until you guys let that happen. Seriously, thank you for that, by the way. But going on, I remember I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So what I resulted to was just hanging out with women and talking to them. Yes, that's literally all I would do all the time back in high school. I would always just go out, find chicks, and do the Devil's Tango. Like, all the time. No, seriously, like, it's bad how many times I've done it. But then I remember basically, I had a friend on Discord that I used to talk to all the time back when I was in high school. And we've been friends throughout, like, all of high school. And there was one time where I remember he invited me to a game to play, and that was Fortnite. I remember we were playing Fortnite, and basically there was this one girl that was, like, basically, like, really good friends with him. And one thing led to another. I ended up playing Fortnite with them. Now, I think we all know Fortnite. It's one of the more casual games that, like, literally everyone would play. But basically, I remember me and this girl, after that one Fortnite game, my buddy had to leave, and it was just me and her. And to not make things awkward, I decided to try to talk to her and stuff, try to be friends with her, because my friend's also friends with her. her. And one thing I found really odd is that it's weird how she was friends with my friend, even though they don't really know much about each other. Like, for example, when I asked her, so like, are you ready for graduation? She'd be like, oh yeah, like finishing up the exams. Wait, what? It's still the beginning of the year, is what I said. And I remember I asked her, oh, like what grade 12 classes are you taking? All the ones that I just need and stuff. Wait, what? I don't know. Let's just say she didn't seem like she was an actual grade 12 student. Something just felt off, but I remember as I would talk to her more and more, she started like kind of like making up things on the spot. And then I remember I asked her where she ended up living. I know this is a question that you usually shouldn't ask anyone is friends with you on the internet, because you know that's an invasion of privacy, but I just decided to ask her to see if she was even from around here, and apparently she didn't live that far from me. So I remember I ended up telling her, oh, like you should come like hang out with like me and like the other guys sometime, you know, just to hang out and stuff. She ended up talking to me saying, oh, like maybe I don't know about that. And then one thing led to another. She had to go and then she left. But before she left, she ended up messaging me on Discord, her Snapchat, and that's when I added her from there. Now when I added her on Snapchat, I'm not gonna lie, Snapchat is one of the more sketchiest things on the planet. Like, I know it's the most common platform to ever go on, and don't get me wrong, you guys can add me on Snapchat if you want, but the main thing is that Snapchat is a very sketchy platform when it comes to, well, meeting new people, because I think it's the most common thing that everyone uses now. Like, when you walk up to a girl, you don't ask her for her number, you ask her for her Snapchat. So I remember when this girl gave me her Snapchat, I remember I added her back and everything, and I ended up snapping her saying, oh, like, what's up? Trying to be casual and stuff, and then she ended up messaging me back saying, oh, like, nothing, you sound super cute, what do you look like? So me, being the dumb guy I was, I ended up sending her like a side like selfie, basically, you know, the one where you only just send like half of your face that every e-boy does basically on the internet. And I sent her one of those, and she saw my jawline and I guess fell in love with it. To be honest, I have no like idea, but at the same time though, one thing I will say is that every time she would snap me back, it'd be a photo of like a piece of her hair, not even like her full-on face. I think the most was like maybe like 3% of her forehead. So either this girl had a massive forehead that she was hiding, or this girl was just not who she was. I remember the next day I went up to my buddy at school and I ended up talking to him about this girl. I ended up saying, yo, like this girl, she actually like kind of lives close to us, and like maybe we should just like meet up with her. And then my buddy ends up saying, dude, like I don't really know, man, like I kind of just met her online, like I don't really know if we should like get to know her and stuff. She's kind of just cool to just hang out with and talk to, you know. But then I started asking questions, because me being a curious guy I am, I always get curious when it comes to things like getting to know people and stuff. Like one thing I'll say is that if you ever meet me in real life, I will talk to you. I will genuinely want to know who you are and be friends with you. So I remember I ended up getting curious. I was curious as Curious George. Can I say that? I'm brown, it's okay, right? No, but basically I ended up saying, okay, yo, so like, do you not want to meet up with this girl or not? I remember he looked at me and then he finalized saying, honestly, bro, you can go hang out with her, but like, I think I'm just gonna stick to us being online friends. And then that's when I started questioning why. Obviously, that's like the question for basically everything I do in every video, but basically I ended up saying why, and then he ended up giving me an answer that was kind of weird. He ended up telling me, the thing is, the reason I don't want to like meet up with her is because we kind of like online dated for like a bit, but like I wasn't like into it anymore, because like I'd rather hang out with a girl in real life than on the internet. And he has a point. I mean, e-dating is the most dumbest thing on the planet. But me being the guy I was, I remember I ended up going on my phone, going on Snapchat, and actually messaging this girl saying, hey, yo, just curious, like you dated my friend. I don't want to make things awkward, but like, do you want to like maybe hang out sometime? Yes, I pulled out the do you want to hang out question, because obviously I want to know who this girl is, and it's never bad to make actual new friends. I remember this girl was like freaking out as I sent her that, and I remember she ended up snapping me back saying, oh, like I don't know, like school's been super busy and stuff, and made up some excuses and stuff that most teenagers do nowadays when they want to get out of something. So I remember I ended up saying, okay, whatever, and I ended up moving on. Now this is where the story gets actually pretty funny. I remember the next day I went to the mall with me and my friends. We ended up going with the guy that introduced me to the girl in the first place and this other buddy of mine. When we were walking around the mall, I remember me and him, we ended up going to a store called H&M. It's a very casual clothing store that most guys go to when they don't want to spend over like $500 on a t-shirt or a jacket or something. And I remember as we were walking around, there was one girl that I recognized somewhat, but not because of her face, because of her hair. Her hair was the exact same color as the girl as the one I was snapping, and honestly it was kind of odd because when I snapped her right in that moment, I realized that this girl was also going on her phone the same time I snapped back. Like, you know that feeling where like you snap someone and then they go on their phone, they snap back, and they kind of have like the same background? At that point, we were doing that. Me and this girl, I snapped her, she snapped me on the perfect timing as well, and basically every time she would take a photo and send it to me, this girl would get off her phone. So that's when I knew, yo, bro, this girl is the girl. Like, I just decided to go with my gut, and I remember I walked past her to kind of like identify her, and then afterwards, I remember as a joke, I ended up sending a photo of that girl specifically to the chick that I was snapping on my phone, and when I did, I remember the girl opened the snap, turns around, and her face turns red. Like cherry red, like tomato red. It was like she just figured out like we just exposed her or something. I have no idea. But as she was panicking, I remember she ended up basically running out of the store, like literally sprinting out of the store. And my buddy looked at me saying, yo, like, why is that girl running out? And I said, bro, we gotta go now. So I ended up basically grabbing his wrist and we ran outside. And when we ran up to her, and I'm not gonna lie, she couldn't run pretty far. And when we walked up to her, that's when we realized she was wearing a middle school hoodie. Like, you know, the ones that you get like at the end of the year that like basically say like what year you graduated middle school from? Yeah, she was wearing one of those for this exact year we were in. I remember I looked at her and I'm like, wait, are you in middle school? And that's when I looked at my friend and said, dude, there is no way you dated an underage kid online. And then I remember this girl started crying and she just said, don't tell my parents and all this really dramatic stuff. And I remember my buddy that was beside me was really upset. And he wasn't upset at the girl. He was upset at me as if he knew he was dating an underage chick. At that point, I was grossed out. I'm like, dude, why are you getting mad at me when you literally are the one dating an underage chick? And then he ended up telling me, dude, I told you, like, I knew this was gonna be bad. Like, there was no point of us trying to meet her. Like, you really set me up. And I said it was all out of coincidence, but to this day, he will never believe me on that. And honestly, I'm happy he didn't, because let's just say later on in the future, this guy ends up being a full-on pedo. And that's a story for a different time when I full-on exposed him to our entire school. But you know what? Like I said earlier, that's a story for another time. Okay, so I remember my grade 12 year. I won't lie to you. I found it really disgusting how grade 12s in my high school would go for grade 9. Like, you guys know the age gap of like 4 years is pretty disgusting, especially if you're under 18. And honestly, I will say this much as well. Let's just say some guys are so ruthless to the point where they're willing to go for such a young woman. And me, I'm not gonna lie. I have a really common rule, and that is 2 years younger or 1 year older. You never go more than that. Or actually, when it comes to older women, it's not that bad. I should know I have many experiences with that. But today's story goes a little insane. So drop a like and subscribe, and let's just get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story, like I said, takes place back in grade 12. Now, in grade 12, I remember there was a lot of grade 9s entering my high school. And grade 9s are usually around what? The age of 14, 15. And as a grade 12, I thought it was disgusting going for that age group of women. Because, like, let's be real here, it's kind of gross. But one thing in my high school is that, I won't lie to you, it's really hard to determine whose age is actually what. Let's be real here, guys. We're in 2023. Women that are like literally 12 look like they're 19. As scary as it is, you never know what age is what, and it really freaks me out. And 80% of the time when I go out to like a party or a club or anything, I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes I feel like I need my own ID scanner to make sure they're actually of age, or I'm gonna be in jail. Like, literally any day now, the cops could come into my door and be like, FBI, open up, and I would die physically and mentally. Anyways, I remember my grade 12 year. I remember we were going to our new classes, and a lot of the grade 12s were talking about all the new grade 9s and the new shoddies that are in there. I don't like using the word shoddy, but if you guys are from, like, you know, any sort of slang land, then you would understand what I'm talking about. But for me, I was really uninterested. I found it totally disgusting, like I said earlier, and I remember I kind of just avoided all the conversations that had to do with, well, little girls, because like I said, I'm not a freak, bro. Like, I understand I like Minecraft and I play Minecraft, but I'm not a freak. Anyways, going on from there, I remember basically one time in my science lab, I remember going in there and I ended up sitting down on a desk. And then afterwards, when class actually started, the teacher came in front of the classroom and said, okay, class, so today we have a new student. She just came here and she is going to be joining us for our new science class. Now, I didn't know who this was because she came a week late apparently to school, but when she came into the classroom, she looked like any ordinary grade 12. Now, remember, this was science 12, by the way. I should probably mention this was like a science lab 12 class, so only grade 12s could take this class. But I remember she ended up coming to the classroom, and since she was in the same class as me, I automatically thought she was the same age as me, because, you know, it's high school. Like, it's not normal for very young people to go into, well, an older setting, if that makes any sense. I remember I ended up seeing her and I thought she was actually pretty attractive. Now, before I continue on with the story, I just want to say, cops, FBI, or anyone that has to do with catching pedos, I just want to say I was in high school. Just hear the story out before you guys send cops coming down my door. Okay, thank you. Anyways, I remember I found her pretty attractive and I thought, hey, like, maybe I should go, like, you know, talk to her and kind of like see what's up. So I ended up walking up to her and I ended up basically saying, hey, like, how you doing? Like, I think you look pretty good. She looks over at me really oddly and she's like, thanks, I appreciate it. Now, clearly she was really awkward when it came to conversation, and I'm not gonna lie, she kind of handled it prematurely. At the time, I wasn't really registering that, but let's just say she acted really odd around me. And I remember, to save myself, I kind of just ended up like basically saying like, hey, like if you need any help with like the homework or anything, I could help you with that. When I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea 80% of the time what happened in that science class, but you know what? As long as it got me out of the situation, I didn't care. Anyways, after that weird interaction, I remember I sat back at my desk and my friend ended up coming up behind me saying, yo, bro, you interested in her or what? I remember I looked over at him like, what do you mean? Well, bro, like, I don't know, you made fun of us for going for girls. And that's when I told him, bro, you guys go for grade 9s, bro. I'm not going for a grade 9. And that's when I went back to work. And I remember he ended up rolling his eyes at me and we both went back to work. Now, I remember at this point, I really did not know what to do or say. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of couldn't take my eyes off this girl. She was really beautiful and honestly, like she had this like really nice, like young look to her. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, I know what I'm explaining sounds really creepy and weird, but just keep listening to the story. Anyways, I remember in that class, we ended up getting a science project where we had to group up with people. And since I was the only person that interacted with this girl on her first day of our science class, she actually ended up coming up to me saying, I was just wondering, like, can you maybe be my partner for this? I don't really know anyone in the class. I remember I looked at her and said, yeah, sure. Like I wouldn't mind. I could help you out with it. And me and her became partners for that science lab. Now me, since I'm a hopeless romantic, I kind of saw this in a flirty way and in a more, you know, romantic way of how like, you know, she's approaching me and I'm like her knight in shining armor, gonna help her with some like science lab stuff. I shouldn't be doing that hand gesture, but going on. I remember from there, I ended up basically getting her number in her Snapchat, and then one thing led to another. Me and her, we ended up basically communicating throughout the day. Now, I was talking to her throughout the day and stuff, and I ended up basically like, you know, just talking to her. I didn't search her up on any other social medias, nothing. Anyways, I remember after school came around, and I basically ended up going to the parking lot and jumping into my car, and one of my friends needed a ride, so I ended up driving him home. And on the way home, I remember I ended up telling him about this girl and how like, you know, she's really hot, really pretty, and all this stuff, and I ended up saying her name. When I said her name, I remember my friend looked at me saying, wait, bro, you're actually interested in her? That's kind of weird, bro. I ended up asking him why, and he's like, well, I don't know, like you just met her, and like on top of that, like, dude, she's new to the school. Yeah, I know she's a newbie, like that's nothing the problem with it. I'm just saying, like, she's a hot girl in my grade 12 science class. He ended up kind of shrugging it off, but he ended up failing to mention the one thing, and that one thing could have led me to jail. I remember after I dropped him off, I ended up going home and I ended up hopping on my Xbox and just playing video games for that night. Obviously I had schoolwork to do, but I really did not care about school my grade 12 year, which was really not a good idea because, well, if I actually focused in school, I probably could have been a lawyer, a judge, or, you know, something more important than being a YouTuber. But you guys make this job worth it. So please like and subscribe so I can keep doing this and not wanting to absolutely hang myself. I can't say that. Sorry, my bad. Keep going. Anyways, going on. I remember as I was playing Xbox, I ended up getting a Snapchat from this girl, the girl from my science lab. And I ended up basically like, you know, messaging her back, and me and her were snapping back and forth. And then out of nowhere, I basically decided to be flirtatious once again and see if I can, you know, maybe, you know, spit some riz, as people say nowadays. And as I was talking to her, I remember I ended up basically saying how, like, you know, she was really attractive today at school. One thing led to another. After flirting back and forth, she ended up sending me a photo of her cherries. I thought this was good at first. I thought it was like, okay, cool. This girl, like, you know, she's 10 out of 10. And then I remember she ended up telling me to come over. Now, at this point, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was like 9:30 at night. Apparently, she had no one home. And I thought, you know what? Might be a great opportunity to, you know, do the devil's tango. Because in grade 12, I was still a major player. So I remember I ended up basically getting my things, getting ready, and I ended up driving to her place. When I got to her place, I remember she lived in a really nice place, and she actually lived in a really cool like area. Like she lived in like one of those like, you know, rich kid areas, like, you know, like rich people live there, bro. And then I remember I ended up basically parking my car in front of her house. I ended up walking up to her door and I knocked on it. Once I entered inside the house, I remember I ended up looking around and stuff, and I saw that she was an only child. And as I was walking around, I remember I ended up seeing a photo on the wall of her middle school graduation. Now, if you guys don't know what middle school graduation is, because a lot of people don't have middle school in some countries, comment down below if you guys have middle school. But basically, middle school is the years of grades 6 to 8. And when I saw her middle school graduation from, you know, leaving middle school and like, you know, moving on from grade 8 to grade 9, I saw that she looked exactly, and I mean exactly the same as a grade 8. At this point, I remember I looked at it and I'm like kind of like shaking. I really got scared because I'm like, wait a second, how old is this girl? And then afterwards, I remember one thing led to another. I ended up going into her bedroom, and once I saw a bunch of squishmallows, that's when I knew this girl was probably not of age. I remember she ended up pushing me on the bed and she wanted to, you know, grab my eggplant. And that's when I'm like, whoa, real quick, just real quick. How old are you? She looks up at me as if I was crazy and said, I'm 14. Why? What? I remember at that moment, I ran out of there so quick. Like, I'm not joking. I literally got up and literally went straight for the door. I went out the door, out like the main entrance door, and I went straight to my car and drove away. I remember she ended up calling my phone on the drive home. She's like, why did you leave? Like, what was that about? Like, seriously? Like, why do you gotta be such a jerk? And at that moment, I told her, I'm 18. I can't be caught lacking with a 14-year-old, bro. Like, seriously, this is some EDP kind of stuff. I remember she looked at me like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. Like, bro, my mind couldn't register what she was saying, and I was totally disgusted. And I remember I drove back home, and since that night, I'm not joking, I'm going to ID every woman that comes into my way, which I'm not gonna lie, nowadays I always ask for age first, or hopefully it says it on their Instagram bio, which, by the way, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Anyways, guys, that is basically it for today's video. Make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, just follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.